freedom, oh, freedom, oh, freedom over me. And before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free.
On August 28, 1955, Emmett Till was murdered in Money, Mississippi. The failure to convict his known killers hit close to home to young black people, especially young black Mississippians. Joyce Ladner and her older sister Dory from Palmer's Crossing near Hattiesburg felt powerless and frightened when they read about the incident in their local newspaper. They now fully realized how vulnerable they were, that not even their youth could protect them from racial violence. Joyce Ladner and her sister Dory became staunch movement activists and were in that early group of young Mississippians who became a part of student protests and joined SNCC's efforts in the early 60s. When we joined the movement, she recalled, we were doing what they had prepared us to do, and they were all proud of us. As teenagers in the late 50s, Joyce and Dory Ladner helped form an NAACP Youth Council in Hattiesburg. The pair worked closely with older activists such as Vernon Dahmer and Clyde Kennard, both of whom became important movement mentors. Joyce attended statewide NAACP meetings in Jackson with Dahmer and Kennard. For the Ladner sisters, these meetings were an introduction to a tradition of black activism in Mississippi, a tradition that they worked hard to uphold when they became part of SNCC in the early 60s. Joyce and Dory was one of the first generations in their family to go to college. Joyce took her mother's encouragement to heart and worked hard to balance her academic work with her activism. After she was expelled from Jackson State for participating in sit-in demonstrations, she enrolled in Tougaloo College and graduated with a degree in sociology in 1964.
Well, I went to Tougaloo, my sister Dory and I went to Tougaloo because we got expelled from Jackson State College for helping to organize a student protest. The 9 Tougaloo students sat in at the public library, and Medgar Evers had told us that it was going to occur, and he asked us to see if we could get students together at Jackson State. We were freshmen.
She went on to Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri, to earn a PhD in 1968. While Ladner was a Tougaloo student, she was in and out of the Delta and other parts of the state, helping organize voter registration drives. She also helped organize the March on Washington under the direction of Bayard Rustin.
Not just a 19-year-old girl from Mississippi, but for just anyone on that podium. No one had seen that many people before. We didn't have huge marches like you do now. After everyone's gone, we in SNCC stood there and crossed arms and sang "We Shall Overcome" together. Probably 12.5 people. But that was the SNCC people, and it was people like Rochelle Horowitz. And that image is very striking because all of those people had come out, but they were gone. And here you have enough people that you can put in 4 cars and send back south. And that's your movement in a way, your hardcore group of people who were going back into the toughest battle of their young lives, the toughest battle of lives of anyone who engaged in it.
Although she was deeply involved with SNCC in Mississippi and elsewhere, Ladner continued with her academic studies, becoming a noted sociologist. Dr. Ladner transformed her position for social and political activism into writing, teaching, and advocacy in the 21st century. She served as Vice President for Academic Affairs at Howard University from 1990 to 1994 and as Interim President of the university from 1994 to 1995. Let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Joyce Ladner.